Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of Daybreak Extra this beautiful Saturday morning. I hope you had a good night rest and hopefully, this weekend is going to be much more interesting and bring a lot of opportunities for you. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Nice to have you on the show.
It is a beautiful Saturday morning right here in the nation's capital, and we are here to bring you Daybreak Extra on Trust TV, hoping to kickstart your weekend on the brighter side. My name is Ibrahim Yusuf. Welcome to the show. All right,
up next will be a newspaper review. Yes, we'll be reviewing headlines from the front page of major newspapers around the country right after the break. Stay tuned.
When a situation where you find that they look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that. When a situation where you find that they look like the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
From all around the world,
our news is factual and concise,
giving you fresh news as it breaks.
Nigerians in the diaspora have decried the unavailability of Nigerian passport booklet.
One tricycle rider feared death while 6 others are critically injured after a moving train hit.
When I sit on the news desk every day,
there's a deep sense of responsibility that overwhelms me.
A responsibility to deliver a message to our viewers
in the most professional way possible. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people who fall sick with COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate symptoms and recover without special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. The virus can spread from an infected person's mouth or nose in small liquid particles when they cough, sneeze, speak, sing, or breathe. These particles range from larger respiratory droplets to smaller aerosols. You can be infected by breathing in the virus if you're near someone who has COVID-19 or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. The virus spreads more easily indoors and in crowded settings. Maintain a safe distance from others at least 2 meters even if they don't appear to be sick. Wear a mask in public, especially indoors or when physical distancing is not possible. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay home if you feel unwell. Get vaccinated. Properly fitted masks can help prevent the spread of the virus from the person wearing the mask to others. Masks alone do not protect against COVID-19 and should be combined with physical distancing and hand hygiene. Protect yourself and others around you by knowing the facts and taking appropriate precautions. Follow advice provided by your local health authority. This message is brought to you by Trust TV.
It's still a Daybreak Extra on Trust TV, and today on the show we will be looking at the psychological effects of incessant abduction of children, and we'll also bring some entertainment on the show. But before then, let's move on straight to the newspaper review, and we will start by taking headlines from the front page of Daily Trust Saturday. And the lead story there has to do with concerns over rising trends of child abductions and killings. And like we said earlier, we'll have a guest on the show who will talk about the psychological effects. And we have writers on that show, on that particular story, that says 124 kidnapped in 5 years. 1,442 abducted from schools in 2021, says UN. Child rights law can make a difference, says lawyer, and then create Child Rights Commission, says activist. That's a research that was done of cases of abduction from 2017 to 2021. We also have stories on at the top of the page that says controversy trails arrest, remand of Kano government critic Maazu Magaji. Details of that story can be found on page 6. We also have ECOWAS suspends Burkina Faso after military coup. If you come to the bottom, you'd see a story that says farmer count losses. That's the cover story that says farmer count losses as heavy wind ravages crops in Sokoto communities. And an interview here, an exclusive interview that says with the Emir of Gaya, that says switching from private to public life most difficult. We also have a story just beside it that says 30 rotten bodies of kidnapped victims found in abandoned rivers hospitals. And details of that story can be found on page 7. These are the stories that we have on front page of Daily Trust Saturday.
The next paper we're going to be looking at this morning is The Guardian newspaper, and it carries the major story. The major headline on the front page of The Guardian reads, Security lapses at Lagos Airport. And rider there, facility, passengers exposed to danger. And of course, rivalry amongst agencies, widened loopholes, and another one that says it's time to rejig security architecture. These are attributed to stakeholders in the aviation industry on security lapses at Lagos Airport. That is on the front page of The Guardian newspaper. Another story on the front page of The Guardian, where you can find the story on page 3 actually, is Oromoni, alleged torture by school seniors, witness tells coroner. Then another one, talking about politics now, and it's on page 4, it says, Ekiti poll, Badaru insists APC primary was free, fair. That is also on the front page of The Guardian. Shops raised as petrol tanker explodes in Onitsha. That is on page 5 of The Guardian newspaper. And then we look at the entertainment section. It's at Guardian Music. It's judges set the tone as search for next Nigerian idol begins. That is also on the pages of The Guardian newspaper. So those headlines can be found on the particular Guardian newspaper for this morning.
All right, now moving on to The Nation newspaper. We have right at the top there that says a story that says electoral bill, NAS cleans up harmonized version as INEC deadline looms. And we have a rider that says Catholic Church delay of legislation unacceptable. That's what the Catholic Church is actually saying. And then Yari Marafa meets Atiku Saraki amid defections rumors. And then we also have a story there that says Supreme Court delaying resolution of VAT dispute, Wike alleges, and accuses NJC of being used to intimidate judges. Details of that story on page 4. We have the lead story there, 2023 zoning intrigues deepen in APC PDP, and a rider that says Buhari will guide ruling party on way forward, says Abiodun. And then the story that actually one of the trending stories for the week here. It's an untold story of a Lagos hotelier allegedly killed by a wife. And writers here say deceased hotelier's wife allegedly stabbed him twice in Nigeria and Dubai before last attack. And then late husband bought her a 12 million naira car, 500,000 naira phone as birthday gifts last December. We also have police detain victim's widow, 3 others as SCID, and details of that story can be found on page 11. We also have on billionaire business woman Titi Ejimagwa, varsity official denied me admission for rejecting his advances. And a few other stories at the footnote. Hanifa, police arraign wife of alleged killer. And then we also have Ekiti 2022. No aspirant boycotted APC Gubo primaries, says Badaru. And then ex-Kano commissioner arraigned for inciting disaffection against Ganduje. These are the stories on The Nation Saturday.
The next being newspaper we'll look at this morning is a Saturday Punch, and on the top of the page there's a story there starting with politics. It says Northern youth ask Dangote or Tedola to others to join presidential race. That is a story on the front page of the Punch, and you can find that story on page 5. And still talking politics, another one here says will challenge Fayemi Man's emergence as APC candidate. That is attributed to Adeyeye and Ojo, and that story is on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. Still talking politics, another one here says Tinubu not sick in London for consultations, says aide. That can be found on page 8. The major story on the front page of the Punch this morning is PDP shuns power shift, says Atiku, Onkwoso, others free to run. And riders here on that story, ex-VP not too old to contest, that is the aide replying Makinde, and no Igbo man should take VP slot in PDP APC, says Ohaneze. And another one here that goes, Buhari will guide APC on zoning, says Governor Abiodun. Those stories are actually couldn't be found on pages 4 and 7 of the Punch newspaper. When we go down the front page, we'll see another story here that says, we're still in shock, losing dad, daughter, fiancé to Bochi crash. That is a late civil servant's brother-in-law. That story can be found on page 22. On the bottom of the page, you'll find Lagosians will miss my government if denied second term. That is by the Lagos State Governor, Sanwo-Olu. That story is on page 8. Military blames poor network roads for Zamfara Niger killings. That is on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. And of course, another headline on the bottom of the page reads, Nigerian judiciary becoming confusing, painfully contradictory. That statement is attributed to Wiki. All these stories can be found on the pages of the Saturday Punch for this morning.
All right, we'll take the final newspaper, which is a Business Day Weekender, and the major headline there is about the art market, and it says the art market from an artist's point of view. And then if you come down a bit at the footnote, you'd see a story saying African excellence with Vimbai, and this, I think it's an interview on African excellence. And then we also have the news roundup there that says how Nigeria can ease subsidy removal pain despite high oil price. Nigeria's cost of borrowing spikes to highest in 15 months. And these are the stories that we have on the front page of major newspapers from across the country. Now, one particular story, like I said, that touched on every newspaper. It's the human angle story of the lady who actually killed her hotelier husband. There's been lots of cases of domestic abuse, in many homes these days. Just a few, I think sometime last month, there was a story that went around, if you're in Kaduna, the story that actually went around of a very pretty lady who was actually killed by her husband after, a brief argument. And you have people advising, women that if your husband beats you, there's no point staying in the marriage, just leave for your life and for your children and everything. And you still have these women, insisting that, they have to make the marriage work. What do you think?
Well, I think it's an issue of self-esteem. You understand, when you find yourselves in situations like this, it's hard for you to comprehend why these women actually stay, or why people actually stay in abusive relationships. Because when we talk about domestic violence, or domestic abuse, the first thing that comes to mind is the husband abusing the wife. They don't look at the other way around. Yeah. It actually happens as well.
That's because we actually see a lot more stories of husbands who abuse.
Exactly. But domestic violence actually goes both ways. So it's very difficult for you to comprehend. You're looking at it from the outside. It's difficult for you to comprehend why people actually stay in abusive relationships when it's easy for you to just say you can pack up and leave, But sometimes we don't know the dynamics behind these relationships, and it's a question of mindset, just like I said earlier. When a person has a particular mindset or particular self-esteem issues, then anything can happen, and it's really not the ideal situation.
Why this subject is kind of touchy for me is because I had a friend, who a few years ago died in the hands of her husband, her and her child, a 4-year-old child. And talking about domestic abuse, you keep thinking, when does it start? How does it start? What leads to, a man losing so much respect for the woman that he has to touch her?
Well, sometimes it's a gradual progression. You understand? Sometimes it's like that. And sometimes people go into the relationship with their eyes wide open. She probably knows he has violent tendencies, but she probably convinced herself that he'll change.
But is it possible for you to know if someone has violent tendencies from, courting or from a relationship?
Of course the signs will be there. The signs will have to be there. You definitely know
What are
the
the
person has
signs?
has violent tendencies.
What are the signs?
I've never been in an abusive relationship.
Okay.
You understand?
Well,
so
you
I
should know.
really wouldn't know. But definitely the signs will be there. You stay with this person. You engage with this person on a regular, and definitely you will see the signs unless we put our blinders on, because. They say love is blind. That's what happens. So maybe you are so into the relationship that we put blinders on and we decided to ignore those red flags. And that is when they metamorphose and then snowball into something else.
There's some women who are so damaged that they feel like if the man doesn't hit them, then, he doesn't love them.
Well, that is a whole different level of that's a whole different level of mental issues. You understand, and that goes deeper than a lot of things that we've actually experienced. But it does happen, and well, it's up to the mental health experts. Those are the ones who can be able to
now,
actually
like you
tell
said,
that.
yes, like you actually said, it's not just women who are abused.
Exactly.
Men are.
actually are.
So why
abused as
don't
well.
the men come out?
Well, it's an issue of machismo. I mean, like, I will lose face if I come out with my game and I say that my wife beats me. you understand? I will lose face in the eyes of the boys. You understand? So that is why we don't have a lot of cases of men coming forward saying they're being abused in a relationship. And when we're talking about abuse in a relationship, it doesn't even have to be physical. You understand?
Yeah, it can
Emotional
be
abuse
emotional,
is actually there as well. And a lot of men go through that. But they feel as if, okay, if I come out and say that I am being abused either emotionally or verbally by my wife, then I'm not a man. You understand? So that's the problem.
But shouldn't your life matter more than your ego?
It should. That is under normal circumstances.
Because if you talk about emotional abuse, some people would actually say it's better. But what emotional abuse does is it leads to depression and it leads to suicidal tendencies as well.
Exactly. Emotional abuse is just as bad as the physical. You understand? It's just as bad as the physical. As the physical can kill you, so can emotional abuse actually kill you as well. So it's a wide topic. It goes deeper than what we can be able to say on the surface. And it's on an individual case-by-case basis because everybody has his own mentality and there are different circumstances leading to these relationships, and of course there are different circumstances in the relationship. So without actually someone being in that particular situation, it's difficult for you to understand the dynamics of that relationship.
So in your opinion, what do you think one can actually do, both a man and woman, once they find themselves in that kind of situation?
2 words: get out. Simple. Just get out. Because it's when it gets to that particular stage, it gets to a particular stage whereby there's nothing to fix.
It starts small and then
exactly, and then it snowballs into something else. When it gets to a particular stage, you can't fix it. It is not fixable. Just get out before it gets into before it becomes something else.
Okay, I think with that we will wrap up the dailies today. Talking about major trending issues and also trending stories on front page of most newspapers. When we come back, it will be time for our first discussion, and we already have our guest, on standby. Do stay tuned.
Oh, welcome back to Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. Well, we've just reviewed the headlines and talked about a couple of stories that were trending during the week, and of course offered our own 2 cents about it. But before we did all that, we did tell you that we're going to talk about something that is it's a very serious issue. We did talk about how, so we've been talking about it, how security has become something that is really insecurity, is something that is really bedeviling most parts of Nigeria. And of course, one of the main things that happens is kidnapping. You know, it's become so rampant now that it's almost an everyday thing.
Especially kidnapping of children.
Exactly. You hear people being taken, children being taken from their homes, and it has really devastating effects.
We've heard of stories, everybody knows of the little Hanifa story.
Exactly.
And another one, a 9-year-old that was killed and kidnapped and killed in Zaria. And one other 9-year-old that was actually eaten.
Exactly.
In Zamfara.
And that was, these are just these recent days, you understand? And those are the ones that even reported. So it's really a horrible thing. Kidnapping or abductions have devastating effects on everybody involved.
It is one of the most psychologically damaging crimes of all, and victims typically take many years to heal from psychological wounds inflicted upon them, and some never completely recover. Now, kidnappings cause deep emotional and mental scars that leave victims to battle through issues of trust, independence, love, sex, respect, and litany of other things. Now, people who have survived kidnapping often go on to battle issues of trust, for the rest of their lives. And as being deprived of freedom and being held against their will can erode trust in humanity as a whole. Now, today on Daybreak Extra, we are looking at the impact of incessant abduction of children on psychology, and we have in the studio with us a personal development and mental health expert, Coach Didi. She also works with preteens, teenagers, and adults. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Extra.
Morning.
All right, so first of all, before we go into the main questions, let's tell us give us a background of what you actually do and what your experience is like.
Well, like you said, I'm a personal development as well as a mental health coach. I'm a master practitioner of neurolinguistic programming. It's actually called the Psychology of Excellence.
Okay.
It's basically about your thoughts, your words, and your actions, and how they come together and make who you are, because your thoughts manifest in your words and your words manifest in your actions. I'm also a coach in cognitive behavioral therapy. Basically how you turn things that have happened to you, rewire your thinking. Whatever is happening to you, you can actually change the way you react towards it by changing the way you think about it, because most people who focus on what's wrong with their lives are miserable. And when you think about what's right with your life, you're a little happier.
Okay.
And I work with women and children, and I actually consult for schools on issues of emotional intelligence, mental health, anger management, stress management, and the likes.
Okay, so what impact does kidnapping on children actually have on them, the parents, and also society?
Well, the thing about trauma, because kidnapping is traumatic for everyone involved. Now, the child, for example, now it's not a one-size-fits-all, because it depends on what actually happens to the child and the age of the child when the kidnapping happens. Trauma is basically called injury to the mind.
Okay.
When something goes wrong with the way you think. Now, for example, if you have a plain sheet of paper and you write something on it and you clean it, does it become exactly the same as it was? No. So it leaves a scar. Now, in psychology, there's this thing called ACEs, adverse childhood experiences.
Okay.
Whatever happens to you, not just happens to you in your mind, even though it happened yesterday, day before yesterday, a year, 10 years, 15, 20 years, it still leaves a mark because it changes the way you think. It changes the way you react to things. Now, for example, I keep telling people, if a child who has been traumatized, sexually abused or physically abused in this case, you come and give him a high five. Now, how he reacts depends on his map of the world. If when an adult raises his hand, he gets bitten, he'll duck. He's afraid. Now, another child, same age, when you raise up your hand, he'll give you a high five, because in his society, in his home, or in his environment, when you raise a hand, it's just to say hello. So the thing about trauma is it keeps count. And it moves from just a traumatic experience in your head to your body. In the sense that, can I give an example?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know Jos?
Yes.
Now that this place called the Forest in Jos. Now let's imagine for a minute, you just close your eyes and you find yourself inside the forest. Just like that. You were sitting right here and then you find yourself in the forest. Now, of course, you'll be shocked. And then as you're trying to imagine, find out what's really happening, you raise up your head and you see a hungry looking lion. Now, the mind is built to do three things: fight, flight, freeze, and sometimes people say fawn.
Okay, let's just, hold it there. We have to go on a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue.
From all around the world,
Our news is factual and concise.
giving you fresh news as it breaks.
Nigerians in the diaspora have decried the unavailability of Nigerian passport booklet.
One tricycle rider feared death while 6 others are critically injured after a moving train hit.
When I sit on the news desk every day,
There's a deep sense of responsibility that overwhelms me.
a responsibility to deliver a message to our viewers.
In the most professional way possible. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people who fall sick with COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate symptoms and recover without special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. The virus can spread from an infected person's mouth or nose in small liquid particles when they cough, sneeze, speak, sing, or breathe. These particles range from larger respiratory droplets to smaller aerosols. You can be infected by breathing in the virus if you're near someone who has COVID-19 or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. The virus spreads more easily indoors and in crowded settings. Maintain a safe distance from others at least 2 meters even if they don't appear to be sick. Wear a mask in public, especially indoors or when physical distancing is not possible. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay home if you feel unwell. Get vaccinated. Properly fitted masks can help prevent the spread of the virus from the person wearing the mask to others. Masks alone do not protect against COVID-19 and should be combined with physical distancing and hand hygiene. Protect yourself and others around you by knowing the facts and taking appropriate precautions. Follow advice provided by your local health authority. This message is brought to you by Trust TV. On behalf of the founder, management and staff of Al-Istiqama University, Sumaila Kano wishes to felicitate with His Highness Emir of Gaya, Alhaji Dr. Aliyu Ibrahim Gaya, on his official coronation as the 3rd Emir of Gaya Emirate. We pray that Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give His Highness wisdom and good health to serve and steer Gaya Emirate to greater heights. Allah ya ja zamanin sarki. Sign, Honorable Suleiman Abdurrahman Kawu Sumaila, OFR, Marathon Rano.
All right, welcome back from that break. In case you're just joining us, you're still watching Daybreak Extra on Trust TV, and in the studio talking about psychological effects of kidnapping on children. We still have Coach Didi in the studio, talking about, just before the break, she was talking about the 3 to 4 F's. That's fun, fight, flight, fun, freeze and fun. All right, can you explain, these
now, like
F's?
I said, so you just find yourself in the forest and you see a hungry looking lion. Of course, you know what's coming. Now, automatically, your body will respond. Either you fight, and fight here, you can't fight a lion because you don't have anything, but you can even pick up a stick just to defend yourself because you just feel do something. Now, that's the fight mode.
Okay.
Then the flight mode is immediately you see the lion, you feel run for it. You can't outrun the lion, but you try. And then the third one is the freeze mode, and you are just frozen.
In shock.
You don't know what to do, and you just kill me, finish. And the fun is when you try to maneuver yourself your way out of the problem. No, in this case, I don't think fun can come in because how do you maneuver a lion? But you can even try, because if that is what comes to your head, you will try. Maybe you can imagine it's a dog and you try to pet it or something and so that it can let you go. But the thing is, the human mind is built in a way that whenever you find yourself in a threatened position, you do something. Either you freeze, you fight, you flight, or you fawn. Now, in the case of children, now how does it affect the body? A child, there's an example. A child gets abducted and is sexually abused. Because from the studies, unfortunately, we don't have much data in Nigeria, but from studies with data in the US, most of the victims are sexually assaulted. 50% of them are sexually assaulted. Now, this child gets sexually assaulted, and let's say it happens every night at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Naturally, by the time it's 7 p.m., the child's heart will begin to beat faster. For example, back to the forest. When you find yourself in the forest and you see that hungry lion, your body will react. You may begin to sweat. Your heart will begin to beat faster. Maybe perhaps it was just dap, 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 dap. Now it becomes da, 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 da. Your body will shake. So everybody reacts differently, but these are the basic reactions. Now this child, every night at 7 p.m., before 8 or 9 p.m., when he knows this act happens, his heart will begin to beat faster. His body will begin to shake. Now, the way God has made it is there's a way that your heart is supposed to beat normally. Now, when you find yourself in a situation whereby you feel threatened, it's okay. For example, the lion again. If the lion is going to eat you, how many minutes will it take for you to get eaten? So your heart will beat faster for just a couple of minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and it's okay. It's done. But in the situation whereby this child is being sexually assaulted or physically abused, it's something that goes on for a long period of time. So when the heart doesn't beat tap, 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 it now beats da, 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 da for 1 hour, even before the act.
Yeah.
It affects the physiology of the child.
Sure.
So you cannot compare a child who has never gone through what this child is going through and this child. So the development of this child is different from the other one. Now, this also brings in stress. Now, it's proven that most mental health illnesses stem from stress and chronic stress. When this child is stressed, his heart will beat faster. It will pump blood more and faster than it's ordinarily supposed to do, and it will weaken his heart. So a child like that can grow up to have heart conditions. And then in the case of so many other kind of stress, headaches, sleeping problems, eating disorders, anxiety, worry, because you cannot not worry if you find yourself in a situation like that. And then some other time, the child goes into depression.
So basically the psychological leads to the physical.
Yes.
Okay.
The psychology and the physical become intertwined.
Okay. All right. So, but what can we do for children like this? They go through this kind of trauma, they come out. What can we do to help them?
There's this popular Jewish proverb that says, the heart gets broken. It can mend, but it leaves a scar. It always leaves a scar. And I think we have to be okay with that. Now, our society, we're not even used to therapy. We're not even used to counseling. Most of the time when I hear about victims of this, I used to wonder, do they actually go for counseling? Do they actually speak to someone? We are so shrouded by the shame. Village people matter. What will people say? We're afraid to even speak up. Apart from those perhaps that have been made it to the media, the rest, nobody talks about them because it will bring shame. And that person is not allowed to even speak about it because you are already feeling shame for something you didn't do. And that is already traumatic. Now, what can we do? This is what we do all the time. Awareness. We have to create awareness. It is okay not to be okay. It is okay to tell people, I'm not doing okay today. There's this exercise I do for kids when I go to schools. I ask them, when was the last time you looked at your classmate and said, how are you? I don't mean how are you and walk up past. No, really look at someone in the eyes and say, how are you? Do you know sometimes when you say that to someone, the person bursts into tears? Because they can't remember the last time somebody actually took notice or asked them how they're really doing. Now back to what we can do as a people, as parents. Now there's this clip I watched. There was I think it was an experiment about how kids get abducted. So the man walked to the park with a dog, a very cute puppy, and he saw a mother. He said, please, we're doing an experiment. This is my crew. Do you mind if we do it with your child? Have you told your child not to go with strangers? And she said, of course. I always tell my child never to go with a stranger. In fact, do not talk to a stranger. He said, okay, are you game? Can we have an experiment? She said, sure. And she said, he asked, which one is your child? And she pointed. And he just walked to the child with the puppy. Hello, do you like puppies? He said, oh my God, I love puppies. And he started playing with the puppy. Would you like to see more puppies in my car? He said, sure. And he held the child's hand. The mother was in shock. She couldn't believe it. And now that's what we all do. don't talk to strangers, don't go into anybody's car. We tell them all the time. But the thing is, it still does happen. Because the people who do this find ways to penetrate all the barriers we put. So I think it's not enough to teach our kids not to go with strangers. We also need to put the mechanisms there, put the protections there, the barriers there. I use myself as an example. When my kids were growing up, not only did I tell them not to go with strangers, not to speak to strangers, but I also made sure the security man in my house, do not let them out of the house unless you get permission.
Yeah.
Because it can happen. With this day of technology, they meet someone online. My children are crazy gamers. They love PS4. They meet people online. I said, okay, let's meet up. They wouldn't tell their parents. So you have to put all the mechanisms. The main gate to the of our estate, I also told them, please, my kids cannot leave the estate without an adult. So if you see them, send them back. So it's not enough to just tell them what to do and what not to do. You also have to put things in place.
Okay, so is it too early to teach kids self-defense? Because there's a video I saw, you know, of a particular girl who her parents actually taught how to defend herself in case she was being kidnapped.
I don't think it's too early for anything. If you have that option, I think you can. The thing is, I keep saying it to most parents, we are raising sheltered children, honestly. Entitled and sheltered children who know nothing, apart from the video games, the Disney channels, the dog diaries, they watch. We have to actually put scenarios for them to try to understand. Let me give you an example. I hope my kids are not watching this. Most of the time when I read a story online, I make it relatable to them. And I sit them down. They were teenagers then. They are still teenagers. And I tell them, do you know that there's something terrible really happened? I said, what? Right here in our area. I had that in a few estates, that a boy got missing and they can't find him. Eventually they were able to trace and the problem was when he left home, he told his mom he was going to Wusetu and he left for Gwarimpa. So when he was missing, they went to look for him at Wusetu because that was where he said he was going. So do you see? Do you see why I tell you all the time to please just say where you are going? So we have to do things like that. We cannot stop our kids from growing. We cannot stop them from having friends. And the thing is that this teenage thing, oh my God. When it comes, you just have to find a way to live with it, but find a way to also communicate. Let them know that this is not just about me trying to mother you all over the place. It's about you being safe. Let me know where you are going. So that if anything happens, God forbid,
you know
because I keep telling them, see, those kids you see missing, when they woke up that morning, their parents didn't think they would get missing.
So that's looking at the preventive side of things. So we actually started touching on the aftermath, the curative side of it. You understand? And you said we started talking about what we can do as a people to actually help these kids that have been in captivity, who escape. We give them opportunity to talk and express themselves and whatnot. But can we be able to say that we have these mechanisms now in place, that we can be able to reintegrate these children back? Can we say that we have it in us now as a society?
Honestly, I don't think we can say that. Because even as adults, we are still struggling for women to come out, men to come out to say they are not okay, they need counseling, because there's so much stigma attached to it. We are a society whereby we keep judging people, and then it makes it worse. Because the victim is actually trying to recover from what has happened to them, and the people don't even make it any easier. We point fingers. They come along, and if you're laughing, everybody keeps quiet. So what do we do? Honestly, we have to make it okay not to be okay. I keep saying it all the time. Oh, it's okay not to be okay, and we have to be okay with that. Counseling is an option that most people don't even think about. What do? Back to what I'm saying, awareness. We have to just keep creating awareness. We go to schools and talk about mental health. We go to societies, villages. We go to communities. I work with an NGO called the Diamonds, and this is what we do. We go into remote parts of Abuja and talk to women about mental health, because these are things that people just don't talk about. Women suffer from depression. So many women are suffering from depression and anxiety. And when you Tachika, she's too much. I beg, it's only you. Now only you come. You know, this and people can be mean.
Yeah.
People can be mean.
Okay, now in a situation where these kids actually bond with the kidnappers, how can this bond be severed? And what can one actually do in this scenario?
It takes time. It takes time. That's why I keep telling people, you have to be patient. You see, when a person creates a cell, usually that usually happens with children as they grow older because they've been there for years. So it creates a bond, an unhealthy bond. You don't expect something that has happened over a long period of time and you just snap your fingers like Thanos. Have you watched Avengers?
Yes.
And then it is all okay. It doesn't happen. It needs a lot of empathy as well as patience. And this kind of person needs to go through therapy. And therapy is not a one-off thing. It's something that goes over a period of time because you cannot undo what has been done over a long period of time. It takes time.
Have you worked with children who have been kidnapped?
No, I haven't.
You haven't. Okay. Now, because I wanted to ask, I know in most cases, you know, when people are kidnapped in Nigeria and they're released, they just keep them for a few days, at most a week. I don't know if there's any counseling that actually goes on while they're being, you know, rehabilitated before they're brought back into society.
I think I read in Borno State, I think there's something like that going on. They do a little counseling, but the thing
is that enough?
Thank you. No, that's not enough because it's not a one-off. It's not a counseling session 1, 2, 3, 4. No, you cannot change what happened over a long period of time with 1, 2, 3 sessions of counseling. It takes a long time. People go into therapy and counseling for years before they begin to even see results. But you know, we're a quick fix nation. Just do it and move on. But it doesn't work like that because the mind doesn't work like that. It takes time.
Okay.
So what effect do you think our culture actually has on how we look at mental health? Because really, just like you said, we are afraid to talk about not being okay. I mean, we were talking about domestic violence earlier, and we were talking about how men who are being in an abusive relationship cannot come out and say that I am being abused by my wife. You understand? Because it's an issue of machismo now. You understand? So how do you think our culture actually affects how we deal with mental health? Because I feel as if, why would I go to therapy? You know, therapy I can't go and see a shrink because I'm supposed to be okay. You know, I'm supposed to have this air of invincibility about me. So how does the culture actually really affect how we look at mental health generally?
The culture is everything, honestly, because our culture is how we were raised, is how we see things. But what can we do about it? We can create awareness. It still boils down to the awareness. When we keep talking about a forum like this, we keep talking about it, it's okay. In fact, I have relatives who know what I do, and yet when I say, Coach, to deal with her, mad people matter. And mental health isn't mad people matter. Because madness, psychosis, it's a mental health disorder among so many. Do you know that excessive worry is a mental health issue? Excessive worry. And who is not worried?
Everybody.
Really, can you be in Nigeria right now and not worried?
No, everybody.
So we all have mental health issues. Now, there are different types. When you cannot sleep for a very long period of time, is a mental health issue. When you cannot eat or you eat too much, it's mental health. But people just think of mad people they see on the street. That's all mental health is all
And if
about.
a person is not exhibiting psychosis, that means a person is fine.
That's right, that's fine. Or man up.
Exactly.
And we live in a society whereby you're sabr, it's always what is it now? Everybody is patient. Why can't you be patient? And because of that, people don't speak. I keep giving an example. There are times you hear about, and you know when suicide happens, nobody tells you suicide. You just go and greet the people, but nobody, except people who were there, because again, stigma, shame. And people who do commit suicide don't think about it in one day. It's usually a process. It's a long, because a few times, there was this example of a teenager who committed suicide, and then his friends were shocked because a day before he committed suicide, they said they were at his home, they played video game, they ate Indomie, so they cannot believe, how could he have done that? But the thing about it is, we always wear a face upon our face. You are miserable, you're unhappy, but when somebody comes, okay, hello, and that's what we all do. You are really, really miserable, but you can't let them see because village people, they will laugh. They will make fun. Let them laugh. Let them make fun. That is what we're trying to create. If you cannot make someone feel better, please walk our path.
Okay, now if you're to advise, how do you think these children can actually cope? What coping mechanisms can they use during captivity?
Now, it boils down to what they were taught. Because if you have no idea, because most of them didn't even see it coming. For example, this little Hanifa, for God's sake, a 5-year-old. Honestly, even I am perplexed. What will you teach that? Except what most of the time we tell them is scream. But in her case, how would she scream? This is her guardian. This is somebody she trusts. And most abductors come from that angle. It's somebody you trust, so you cannot even imagine that something is wrong. So when you do find out something is wrong, you're already in captivity. What we keep saying is, honestly, try to be alive. Just try to stay alive. Sometimes, because you have to weigh it. But in the case, like I told you, with someone as young as Hanifa, honestly, I have no idea because I don't work with some people that young.
Okay.
But for younger, older kids, preteens and teenagers, we tell them, try to stay alive. How? Do as you're told. While you're doing what you're told, start to think. Notice your surrounding. Do you hear noises? If you can, which means perhaps there's a time or an opening that you can actually scream, someone can hear you. But of course, they are smarter as well. So they don't put them in a place whereby they can hear noises. But for example, look at in the case of Hanifa. She was actually taken to his home. Honestly.
Okay, now what of peculiar cases where these kidnapped girls are raped, forcefully married, you know, some are pregnant and some have actually given birth? How easy, or should I say how easy or how difficult is it for them to be rehabilitated and brought back into society? We've had cases of them being rescued.
Yeah. It's not a one size fits all, honestly, because you see, the thing about the mind is we're all different. We are all different. So unless you do an assessment and see where the person is, you can't really say this is it for this person. But generally, you see, the thing about trauma is it's right there. It's an injury in your mind that nobody can see. When I have a cut right now, you say, oh, Coach G, sorry, what can we do? Do we get the first aid kit or something? Because you can see it. What about the injury right here? You cannot see it. I cannot explain it because even if I try, you wouldn't understand it. Now they find themselves in this position, not for 1 year, 2 years. And like you said, they begin to, some even form a bond. And sometimes there's this coping mechanism that you try to forget.
Your previous life?
Yeah. Or you try to, like, I'm in here right now. I have to do the best I can to survive. So I will just go with the flow. And as everybody has a pattern. As you go, the subconscious, you begin to go with it, and then it begins to become your new normal. So in the case whereby they come back to society, it all depends on, really, it's not a one size fits all.
What have there been cases where these, you know, kidnapped people or children want to go back to their abductors?
Well, like I told you, I haven't worked with any kidnapped victim, but I do know that the bond you talked about, it's real. So it will make them want to go back, especially if they've been there for a very long time and at a young age, because that's all they know. That is why I'm telling you, it takes time. It's something that has happened for so long, for such a long period of time. You cannot snap your finger and expect it to be undone. It takes time.
So mostly, usually when these things happen, we focus on, when we say the victim, your mind just goes straight to the abductee. But the parents are also victims. The loved ones are victims. Their friends are victims as well. What can we do for them in situations like this?
Show support. Show support. And that's what we don't do. Back to our society. When something happens to someone, if you cannot make the person feel better, please, this is a slogan I teach kids in school, please work our pass. They become the subject of gossip.
But just like you said, people can be mean.
People really can be mean. And I think that's why emotional intelligence comes in. What's emotional intelligence? When you try to feel what others will feel. Put yourself, have empathy, put yourself in their position. How would you feel? How would you want to be treated? Now treat them that way.
So can we be said that we live in a sadistic society?
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
The society is made of so many people. Good people, bad people, average people. Because, for example, someone can meet you on a bad day and says, oh, that person is a really bad person. But he met you on a bad day. Someone else meets you on a good day, your normal day, and he says, oh, awesome guy. That's how it works. I don't think people are generally bad or generally good. Sometimes we react to things that are happening to us in different ways. So I think it's more about what you think for you and yourself, and worry less about what other people think.
Okay, now you've been doing this for quite a while. Do you have plans to actually, go further and find ways of, personally speaking to those who have been victims of kidnap?
Like I told you, our society, we are still not yet ready. You can't go out to them and ask them to come. Because, for example, the ones that are kids, you need parental consent. And the parents want to wish it away. It has happened. We don't want to talk about it anymore.
Isn't it possible for some to actually be ready?
Yes, it's possible. But nobody has reached out. And you know about, okay, come, I can do this for you. You don't do that. Especially something really tricky like child abduction. It's always shrouded in secrecy. Do you know how many people have been kidnapped? They don't talk about it. Very few actually come out and say, it happened, and this is what happened. Nobody, because you want to wish it away. You want, it never happened. It never happened. And even your family, they don't want to go back to that time, so nobody talks about it.
But isn't there a possibility that these people don't even know, about a child psychiatrist or something for them to even want to have one for their children? Isn't it possible?
Yeah, it is.
That's the case.
Yeah, it is possible.
So how do you put yourself, or how do others like you put themselves out there?
Well, I think that's the struggle. That's what we are still trying to do, create awareness. It boils down to the same thing, create awareness. Something like this, on social media, on my handle, I think we all do that. There are so many coaches out there, that therapists and psychologists. Because in the case of people who come out from this kind of thing, kidnapping, abduction, they really do need to see a psychologist.
All right, so let's quickly digress, right? Earlier we were talking about domestic abuse, and we couldn't really picture, what would lead a man to kill his wife or vice versa. What's your take on domestic abuse in general?
Wow, domestic abuse. Well, see, I told you something about ACEs?
Yeah.
Trauma. People act, feel, behave in a particular way from the experiences that has happened in their lives. Now, in NLP, there's something we say, you are who you are based on three things: your upbringing, your environment, and significant emotional events that have happened to you. That is going to govern how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. I don't want to make excuses, but for most people who are violent, it didn't come from nowhere. Nobody is born violent. Sometimes it's from childhood. He saw his parent do the same. You see that the subconscious mind is very powerful. From most times you hear people, especially those who come from polygamous homes, whereby their mothers were mistreated. You hear when they are younger, they will say, I would never do this to my own wife. And they end up doing the exact same thing. That's the power of the subconscious mind. Your mind, this is what you saw your father do every day. It's embedded here.
It feels normal.
It feels normal. So when you fight it, you try to fight, so you have to be really intentional and conscious of it for you not to do the same thing, because it's a vicious circle. So I don't think people wake up in the morning. Now, this is my thought. I don't think somebody wakes up in the morning and decides, I'm going to do this. Usually there's a provocation, there's a trigger. And the power of the subconscious mind is already there. It always just needs a trigger. And then, that's why we keep telling people who have anger issues, go for anger management classes. Go for anger management classes. There is help.
How effective is it?
It is effective. I can give myself as an example. I was a really angry person.
Okay.
And I had a coach, and I went through anger therapy. It all depends on you, honestly. When you're ready, you make up your mind. There's this popular saying, that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a
step.
Okay, now we don't say that in NLP. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a decision to take that single step. Before you take the step, you have to decide to take it. So if you make a decision today, this is not working for me, I need to do better, and you decide to take action, then you're ready. That's why we don't force therapy. You cannot force counseling, you cannot force therapy, because the person has to be willing to do the work.
So now let's look at coping mechanisms. You touched on something earlier when you said people try to wish these things, these traumatic events away. But don't you think that is an effective way to deal with it? I mean, like, if something happens to me and I decide to delete it from my memory and forget it, skip that part of my life and then move on to the next. If I forget it completely, don't you think that is an easy way for me to move on?
Can you really forget it? Remember what I told you? It leaves scars. When you write on a piece of paper, that paper can never, ever be the same like a plain sheet of paper. Now you can wish it away, you can try to forget it. There's always a trigger. You see people gradually sitting down one day and then they go berserk, destroy things. They didn't plan it. Sometimes you keep bottling up, and one day one tiny thing, and they wonder, what happened? Is it this small thing? No, it isn't the small thing. It's the small thing that triggered what had already been there. So what the solution really is therapy. You cannot wish it away. Because if you're lucky, it goes for a long period of time. But the thing about trauma is it's right there, it's in there, and anything can trigger it. Why would you take the chance?
So, but why, if I keep talking about it,
Yeah.
and I keep telling somebody about it, like a therapist now, I keep talking about it, doesn't it refreshing it all the time? Doesn't it keep it fresh?
No. Well, it depends. Like I told you, I'm not a therapist.
Okay.
I'm a coach, but I've been taught therapeutic tools using NLP. When you work with someone, you don't work, we say, what has happened has already happened. We don't focus on the past.
Okay.
We focus more on the future. It has already happened. So we don't talk about what had happened. How can you move on? So you start to take steps. Step 1, I'll do this. You get a little better. Step 2, okay, I'll now move on to do that. On and on and on. So it's not talking about the past.
Okay.
It's learning from the past. We say fail forward. Learn from what you've done wrong or what has happened to you and move ahead.
All right, with this, we'll go on a quick break, and when we'll come back, we'll continue with this discussion.
From all around the world,
Our news is factual and concise.
giving you fresh news as it breaks.
Nigerians in the diaspora have decried the unavailability of Nigerian passport booklet.
One tricycle rider feared death while 6 others are critically injured after a moving train hit.
When I sit on the news desk every day,
There's a deep sense of responsibility that overwhelms me.
a responsibility to deliver a message to our viewers.
In the most professional way possible. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people who fall sick with COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate symptoms and recover without special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. The virus can spread from an infected person's mouth or nose in small liquid particles when they cough, sneeze, speak, sing, or breathe. These particles range from larger respiratory droplets to smaller aerosols. You can be infected by breathing in the virus if you're near someone who has COVID-19, or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. The virus spreads more easily indoors and in crowded settings. Maintain a safe distance from others at least 2 meters even if they don't appear to be sick. Wear a mask in public, especially indoors or when physical distancing is not possible. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay home if you feel unwell. get vaccinated. Properly fitted masks can help prevent the spread of the virus from the person wearing the mask to others. Masks alone do not protect against COVID-19 and should be combined with physical distancing and hand hygiene. Protect yourself and others around you by knowing the facts and taking appropriate precautions. Follow advice provided by your local health authority. This message is brought to you by Trust TV.
Welcome back to Trust TV's Daybreak Extra this lovely Saturday morning, and we've been talking about some of the psychological effects of kidnapping on the victims actually, both the abductees and those their loved ones as well. And we'll be talking to Coach Didi right here in the studio, and she'll be giving them some insights as to how we can actually deal with situations like this and mental health in general. So we talked about how we treat mental health generally in Nigeria. How can we do better generally now? How can we do better with mental health issues? How we deal with them personally and how we deal with them in others as well?
Like I said earlier, it's basically accepting it. It's life. Not everything goes the way you want it to be. And it's okay. It's okay not to be okay. And then create awareness. And then it starts from me and you. When someone is in trouble, they're not doing so well. Instead of gossiping about them, making remarks about them that hurts even more, ask them, show empathy. How are you doing? How can I help? How can I make it better for you? And if you cannot do that, please waka pass.
Okay. So on a final note now, let's say I suddenly realize that I have some issues that I really need to work out.
Yeah.
Where do I go?
Go on Google. You can call, ask people who can help, seek help. Or you can call me.
Okay. All right. Well, Coach Didi, thank you very much for coming on the show and talking about mental health issues and psychological effects of kidnapping on young children and, of course, the society in general. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. So it's still Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. The show continues after this short break. We'll be taking a little bit of entertainment on the show this morning. So stay with us.
You're very, very stupid.
Idiot.
Useless fellow. Look at him.
Nonsense.
Look at this idiot. Guy, oh my. Are you even a human being? Animal, rubbish.
I agree.
What's going on here?
Foolish fool.
Sorry, sir.
Cynthia, what's happening?
Sir, I just saw a plate of food on this table and I ate it. That was all. He just started harassing me.
Just like that? Aminu, explain yourself.
Chana, here I do.
Hey, speak good and correct English.
Just leave her for God. Just leave her for God.
Aminu, will you explain yourself or I'm going to deduct your salary by 5,000 naira?
Hey! Me, I stand.
Okay.
I keep food.
You what?
Cynthia, you chop food.
You mean Cynthia eats your food?
No, he chop only one food, no be 8 food.
You be mumu.
Wow. Go on, I can hear you.
Child, so child, now I can't say Cynthia, why? Cynthia can't let me now, he chopped me.
You what?
He chopped me.
So you mean you are battling with a lady in the kitchen? I mean, you are more than this, you are a man.
Don't do that.
Because now woman now you don't dey chop water. Supervisor no be Joe. No be Joe.
Cynthia, can I get your report?
Yeah, sure, sir. This week I went to the market twice. I made egusi soup 5 times, made semo 6 times, and I made 12 home deliveries.
Okay, that's nice. Aminu, let me get yours.
Cha?
Let me get yours.
Cha?
You wrote it. Read it.
You think say they wise?
No, I don't write and just read that, Cha.
Read it out. I want to hear you.
You are a
Look at that. Read that.
Read it.
Okay, sir. Chachon customer chop chalad. They chop chalad and chopaghetti there.
Hey!
They changed the.
Continue.
They were adjusted.
They were what?
When they come, they were adjusted. So we give them chalad and chopaghetti.
Adjusted? What's that?
Adjusted. They don't tire. They adjust. They tire.
Oh, you mean they were tired? They were exhausted.
This
Man!
So they now.
Then now what?
How got there? They now.
Aminu.
So they now do this thing.
You wrote it. Read it yourself.
Think about your life!
I don't know, Cha.
Can you imagine?
But they now do this thing.
Aminu, why can't you comprehend? I'm tired of you.
Cha, they come. Be like they something they burn for kitchen.
Aminu, nothing is burning. Come back.
Run!
Good afternoon, ma.
Afternoon, how are you?
I'm fine, ma. My CV.
Okay, you're here for the interview, right?
Yes, ma.
The presenter position, I see.
Yes, I want to be a presenter here.
Okay, hope you have a clean accent.
Yes, ma.
You know, as a presenter, your accent is supposed to be very clean.
Yes, ma. I can say anything.
Continue. Okay, so I'd like you to repeat these words. Assume Al Jazeera gave an unprecedented news.
Ma?
Assume Al Jazeera gave an unprecedented news. I want to hear you say it.
I do my JJ, I give my president news.
I can hear you.
Ajum, Abudala Malia. Ajum, Ajum, Ajejila gave an unprecedented news.
Oh, okay, we'll get back to you.
Get back to me, bro. You know if you tell me make I even talk any simple thing.
You what?
In my TV, I know how you get back to me. I gave her. You know if you tell me no, you present and no be the key people so and so place I will talk. You say make I talk. I gave.
Reset you.
Next person.
When I go find me for
Next.
Welcome back to Daybreak Extra. That was quite a hilarious interlude there.
Yes, it was.
Well, the laughter actually makes a lot of things easier. I think it should be something that does something for mental health, I think.
Yeah, it is it.
Does it?
I think it makes you feel good in the moment.
Okay.
Yes, in the moment.
Yeah, well, at least if we can't find it in the long term, at least taking tiny moments is actually something that's
very
good for
true.
us as well.
One step at a time.
Exactly.
All right, so we actually have the man behind the skits in the studio, talking about Aminu the comedian. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Extra.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, so first of all, do you do just skits or do you also do stand-up comedy?
I ventured into skit lately. I've been doing stand-up for like 8 years now.
Oh, wow.
I do wedding MCs and stand-up basically. I just ventured into skit last year.
Okay, so tell us a bit about your journey, into, before, how you started and where you are right now.
Okay, professionally, I can say for the past 6 years I've been doing comedy. But from way back, secondary school, high institution and everything, professionally, I've been doing comedy for like 6 years now. And that's it.
Why comedy? Why not any other thing?
That's one thing I find myself doing easily. I'm a computer scientist, professionally by career-wise, but I find myself doing more of comedy. It's something that gives me joy. And sometimes it's not even about getting paid. I just, from the early stage, I do comedy freely. I'll just call me for events, I'll come, I'll do it, I'll go. I never knew I would get paid for doing it someday. I just love doing it. It's something I do easily.
Okay, so why venture into skits and not remain on stand-up? Is there more money?
Actually, I still do.
Or is it because everyone is doing it?
I still do stand-up. I have my own stand-up show I do every year.
Okay.
Jokes and Stitches. Me coming to perform for 600 guests every year I do it. So, but the skit is to keep me busy till my event. And everything is moving online today. So the best way to promote my stand-up is using skits. So from them seeing me on skits, they would want to see what I can do on stand-up. So online is the market right now, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm still doing stand-up. Yeah.
So you're based in Abuja?
Yeah, I'm based in Abuja. I was born in Abuja.
Oh, okay. All right. So how would you, the comedy industry in Nigeria is quite big. It's quite large. We have lots of comedians and they're making big bucks. But usually they operate in a different part of the country.
Yeah, you need to understand your own market. Everybody can be in Lagos. Yeah. So in Abuja, we have comedians too, but we just have to make Abuja people understand that they have to embrace comedy. So that's the job we are doing right now, and I think it's getting better. We can see the likes of AY coming to Abuja to do AY Live. Like, everybody's coming to Abuja to do their show right now. Abuja audience are understanding comedy. They are loving comedy already. So we are glad that we are here already, so it won't be an issue for us to blend it to the market.
So, but do you think you would have been bigger if you were in Lagos?
I don't think so. It would have been difficult because I know so many people who started together, and I think I'm a bit ahead because my competition here, I've been able to curtail them. I've been able to understand how to go with them. But in the Lagos market, you are not just doing with your mates, you are doing with the big fishes already. So
the competition is stiffer and it will make you improve and want to do more, aim higher.
Yeah, sure. But sometimes I even feel the Lagos, I'm not saying this to discredit anybody, but the Lagos market is not even as strong as the Abuja market when it comes to content. Because we have the Abuja comedians, we have to do extra jobs. Abuja people are more, Abuja people, we are trying to make them like it. Lagos people already love it. So when we go to Lagos, we even deliver better. They are shocked, like, who are these guys? They come from Abuja to do this. So we, the Abuja comedians, we are doing a very, very good job when it comes to putting the audience together. Imagine somebody, I don't know which word to use, somebody who is stressed, somebody who's always indoors, who doesn't go, they just come out to an event hoping you would make them laugh. Lagos audience, they're always busy, they are always on the road. So it's easy to crack them up. So Abuja people are more organized, so that's the issue. So I will be able to understand Abuja market, and if you can conquer Abuja, you can perform anywhere. Anywhere.
So is it only in Abuja that do you go to any other places in the north to
I'm from Kogi State. I do gigs in Abuja, I do in Kogi State. The Lagos audience are beginning to notice me. They call me to Lagos to do some works too. So I just use the Abuja to portray myself, get the audience I can get. I do go for outside jobs in Abuja. I do outside gigs. In the north, I do so many northern weddings.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can actually say that your MCing is what gives you more exposure when it comes to northern cities.
Exactly.
And not really the comedy.
No, in the north, the MC gives me more exposure.
Exactly. In the north.
True.
Okay.
Now, one would say the highlight of your skits or your comedy is when you speak in Igala.
Yes, I've been doing normal skits for a year now. I get the attention. They're like, "This, your contents are good." I get normal engagement, but I just tried one Igala content once.
Okay.
And I noticed some non-Igala people are reposting it on all over WhatsApp. I'm like, what's happening? Then I tried the second one. The second one even became better than the first one. I was like, okay, it seems
Igala accent sells.
And Nigerians, we love accents, if you should notice. My brother, Sarikin Daria, I don't know if you will know him, Sarikin Daria. He does the Hausa accent, and he has been doing clean accent for the past 6 years. Nobody noticed him, but the moment he ventured into the Hausa accent, he peaked. So since Nigerians, we like it local. We like it. He needs to sound like us so we can blend. And the Igala accent actually helped me.
So don't you think that maybe using the Igala accent might alienate you from a particular set of people?
Yeah, I actually had that thought some time ago, but
yes.
Those who know my kind of job, I mix it. I don't just do purely Igala. Then sometimes I try to make them understand I can speak English very well. So I will just post some clips from my stand-up performance or from any wedding I'm anchoring, just to give them that this is still me. I'm not just that Igala man on the skits or this. I can do this too.
Okay, so what happens or how do you react when people don't laugh at your comedy?
Now that's a bad day at work. That's a bad day at work. But I think God has really been faithful to me in that aspect. I don't really get bad days at work, except the audience are not just you don't get a good day every time. I've gone to a political rally. You don't crack jokes at political rally. You don't do that. So they just called me there, and some people were laughing. Those ones that were paying attention to me, but everybody scattered. So I like everybody seated. You know, comedy today, and everybody wants to do table events. You sell 1 million at a table. I'm not thinking of that direction. I want to do a stand-up comedy where I will just sell regular to everybody. We all will be seated. I'll crack jokes for you. You go. But you won't make much money like that of the table, though, except you have partners. So I hope Nigeria will understand that very pattern and start giving us partners.
So in some parts of the world, we have comedy clubs,
yeah,
whereby people go there, do improv, stand-up comedy and whatnot. I think it helps that particular industry. Do you think we can benefit from something like that here?
Yeah, I do. I actually started with some clubs in Abuja, not clubs, gardens, because we don't really have such.
Yeah, exactly.
So I started with gardens. I go to gardens weekends. I crack jokes. I make people laugh, and it's a free, because I enter for free. You don't pay tickets. You just come to laugh. You have an agreement with the owner of the place. And it was working out till we started having, if you are growing in the industry, there are some things you won't do again. That very area, we don't have such clubs for some persons in this country. Like, you can't imagine Basket Mouth coming to a garden to perform. He's already advanced, he can't do such again. With the level I think I've gained, there are some gardens I won't be able to go. It will now reduce the price, it will reduce the profile and everything. Yeah.
So have you always wanted to do comedy, and Did your family and friends support you in any way?
That area. I've always wanted to do comedy. I started watching Basketball. I started watching Gordon's, AY. These were the people I was watching then, and they were my big inspirations. I just want to be like them. Then abroad, I like watching Chris Rock, David Chappelle. I like the way I like people responding to them. I like hearing the laughter. So normally in my area, we'll gather together, we do yabbing. I am very good at heckling, I can yab you. So from yabbing, I was like, okay, if people can laugh from me yabbing, how about I create, instead of yabbing, just say other words that will make people laugh. So I started cracking basketball jokes. I'll take basketball jokes, I'll go to somewhere, crack it, I'll just fine tune it. They will laugh. I said, how about I create mine? But it wasn't easy creating mine because so I'll crack two of mine, take one of the big names. I was just helping myself till I started getting my own content. My family, my mother was like, so you want to do this thing? So wait, like, look at this one. My younger brother wants to be an engineer. Everybody wants to be this, that. You want to be a computer scientist, but you're not giving it that full. Why do you want to do mumu? They go like, if mumu gives me joy. So, but in every event I've done, she's always there to watch me do that mumu thing I do. So she's there. So
don't you think you being a comedian now has it ever stopped people from taking you seriously when you actually want to be serious?
Every time. Every time.
So how do you deal with that?
So I tend not to be a comedian off stage. I try my best not to, because I'm this kind of person. When you sit together, I like cracking jokes and everything. So I started building a mindset that I'm not this serious person. So ever since I started going to the big market, I don't crack jokes offline. I crack jokes only when it pays me.
Okay, so that's your moneymaker. You can't give it up for free.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
all right, so how do you balance being a computer scientist and a comedian at the same time?
I don't even practice computer science
at the
moment. I just, maybe when I have a project and I think, okay, I will need to do this, and someone gives me a job like, I need someone that can do this. I say, yeah, I can do this. I have a group of boys that work for me. Okay, let's do this. I will give them the idea. This is what we are trying to do. But me personally, I don't think I sit to practice computer science.
But do you make enough money from being a comedian? Because I know a lot of people, dabble on other things. They have other sources of income, just to keep themselves going.
At the moment, I think I'm making what can sustain me for now. But starting it wasn't easy. I do other jobs too. Like sometimes, even my events, I don't have sponsors. I would be the one to finance my event. I would be the one to do all my other jobs, to just patch it up, do my event. And well, for now, I think what I'm making right now, it's enough to sustain me, my family, and everybody around me.
So you're content?
Yeah, for now.
So any plans on expansion? Maybe going into movies and whatnot?
Yeah, I want to expand. I really want to.
Other sources of income.
I really want to expand. I want to do big things, just to revolve around comedy, movies, just everything around comedy, basically. I don't want to go far from comedy. I don't want to do something that would make me become too serious. I want to still be in the circle of comedy, from movies to just comedy, basically.
Okay, now have you ever been in a situation where you went blank on stage, and how were you able to maneuver? Did you improvise, or did you just remain shocked?
Okay, let me give you this. I won a competition in 2019. MC Tagwaye did an event.
Okay.
I was the winner of the competition. We were over 70 comedians from all over the states, and I think I was the least when it comes to packaging. I got on stage that very day. I was thinking it was just me and their normal Abuja boys. I saw some boys that I've been looking up to meet competing with me. I became blank. So when I got up the stage, I was like, so I'm going to compete with this set of people. So instead of doing what I arranged, I said, with what I arranged, I don't think I can beat these guys. Because when doing the Abuja audition, I was seeing the normal guys. I was like, okay, if it's these guys, I know what to do to just... I saw some boys from Sokoto, Katsina, different places. I got on stage, I just had to improvise. For the first second, I became blank. I didn't know it was going to help me. I became blank and I stood. So the audience were wondering, what is he about to do? So I didn't say much. I just like, so the idea of this competition is I'm here to make you laugh. I was just saying it. It wasn't planned. I was just saying it as it comes. But right now, the plan was I came here to make you laugh, and I'm meeting these guys. They are also here to make you laugh. So first of all, good evening and good evening. But to my audience, good evening. To my fellow contestants, I will wish you good evening. I will wish you good luck because I'm here to compete. So I was just saying it randomly and the audience were enjoying me. So when I dropped it the first time, what the audience, they're now like, this guy is real. He didn't come with any kind of script. Just the expression that was helping me. Then the mode of, I was sounding sorrowful. So you people need to help me win this money right now. I have family problems. If you can see these people are doing well, this guy owns a car. We tell you much about this guy. He has a house in Katsina. I'm trying to help me. So I laid that and I left. The second time I was coming, I came back prepared that time because I already understand who I was coming against. But it wasn't easy being blank considered. I was like, so after fighting this far, this is the end of the road for me. Well, it's got to have it. I won the competition. It was a 1 million naira prize.
Wow.
I was able to win it.
That's so much money.
Well, that's a lot of money.
So I thought. Till the money came, I received 1 million naira problem. Too. 1 million came with 1 million problem.
Yeah, so well, it seems like you've had quite an incredible journey. But what has been your most memorable thing that's happened in your career so far?
That very competition.
Okay.
That very competition.
Because it's launched you into.
Yeah, I was doing quite well during the Abuja market, but I needed something. I was broke. I needed something to hold me. So when I registered for the competition, and I was like, I know I'm going to meet the younger ones, the elder ones. Let me just go for it. And I went to the competition by faith. It was in Transcorp Hilton. I was having just 300 naira on me. From my house to Transcorp is 200 naira. So I just have 100 naira that won't take me back. And I told myself I was going to win the competition. Even before the competition ended, I already had like $700 from the audience given to me. Some ministers were giving me $100 and I had 700 to myself. And I won the 1 million. So I had to split with the 700 within the 10 last standing. So I can have my 1 million to myself. So nobody loses. So
you went with 100 naira and you got a million?
Yeah. That was a very memorable one for me. It was a big one.
Okay, now, I'm trying to do some calculation in my head, but, pending when I finish the calculation, I will get back to you. So one other thing I want to ask is, what is the worst thing about your job?
It's the fact that some people wouldn't take you serious. Some people wouldn't, everybody feel you are always, the funny guy, just don't mind it. I needed a support for a project I was doing, and I told them, like, this project is like 5 million naira. You laugh at these guys, and I don't come, I don't come again. So which project be 5 million naira project? Well, they don't take me serious most times. So I need to start giving them the serious part, which is the business part, then I deliver the comedy part. But once it's business, I tend to be serious. Okay,
now the unseriousness, would you say that's society's perspective about that particular profession?
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is, and we need to adjust that mindset. It's not really cool that it's a job. This is what we do for a living. This is what we've cancelled every other thing to do. So joking is our business. So we don't joke with our business.
Him just saying joking is our business sounds funny. Is that me?
Yeah, but it's actually true.
No, but the likes of AY, and Basket Mouth, you can't say society doesn't take them serious.
That's because they've achieved.
Okay.
At this very stage that I am, there was a time they didn't take them serious.
Okay.
I think I've sat down with AY and he told me some stuff. He said there was a time he would go to a lounge to perform. Say, Baba, just go, no worry, we'll get back to you. They don't take him serious. They don't think he's a comedian, don't worry. So he told me stuff like that, and I'm like, okay, yeah. It's a general thing. I thought it was for we at this level. I never knew there was a time he also faced that.
So generally, how would you rate the comedic scene in the North? Generally, how will you look at it?
The North is one of the most funniest places if you've been to the North. I know of Ibro, the guy in the North. That guy cracks me up effortlessly. He doesn't have to say a word. Saying him alone gives me joy. And the North, actually, they love comedy. It's just that some environments are not accepting it, but they love it. I've seen so many Northern families who buy a ticket to come to an event just to laugh and go back. They wouldn't even buy the normal, they'll buy the front row just to enjoy the show and go back. They not love comedy, but they need to do more work in accepting comedy to the North. It's going to be a very big one. I'm even comfortable in the North than outside there. The Northerners show you love when they want to show you love in terms of entertainment. When they want to show you love, they love what you do. Forget it.
Okay, now, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected, comedy in Nigeria, in the north as well?
It wasn't an easy one. That's why most of us went online, because I had no business online. I was doing my normal stand-up before COVID-19. Well, I was at home all the while, nothing is coming, and I was becoming more creative, but there was no platform to show, because there were so many contents on the COVID-19 they were coming. How do I present it? I have to start doing skit. That was where I ventured into skit. I have to start doing skit to show them some content, and I discovered people were engaging more. So I was like, okay, this is a market, but COVID-19 affected stand-up. It affected stand-up. People would no longer gather to enjoy them. So even till now, we are still struggling. We know it's going, but it's not really easy. The pandemic was something else. You want to do an event, even with the full hall, you're not gaining much. Now they said you should still split the audience and everything. So it was a big one.
Okay, so you would say thank God for social media, right?
Thank God for social media.
Let's paint a scenario where there is no social media at all.
Well, you remember the time WhatsApp and Facebook went blank. I thought that was the end of the road for so many people. That very night, I restarted my phone like 20 times because I posted the skits that evening. And the first 30 minutes of that skit was getting mad reactions. I was like, oh, this is nice. And all of a sudden, everything stopped. I was like, so is it that this content is not appealing? WhatsApp wasn't speaking. I was like, Twitter was the only thing working then. I had to go to Twitter and I was checking updates. So and I saw that WhatsApp and Instagram is down. I was like, hey, this is it. But YouTube was working then. So I moved all my content to YouTube. But how do I redirect the people to YouTube? I use WhatsApp and WhatsApp is down. And I was like, this shouldn't happen. Then they rectified the issue the next day and we all came back. And I even created a video on it. Okay. But it wasn't easy. Social media
is a lifesaver.
Mark Zuckerberg. That guy is holding so many people in his hands.
Okay, so what about the Twitter ban? How did it affect you guys? Twitter
ban didn't affect me that much because I wasn't big on Twitter. I was just going there to read comments. Twitter is a funny place. Everybody there is just violent. Just go there, read comments and go. But somehow I was still checking up Twitter once in a while. Government forgive me, but I had to. I had to because I get content from Twitter a lot. Okay. I get content. There are 30% of my videos I get the content from Twitter. There are some words some people will say randomly, but they don't know it's a content to me. So I'll just pick it up and work on it.
Okay, what advice do you have for others in the industry, especially those who find it difficult to be original?
But the truth is, originality pays more. When you discover yourself, you will enjoy yourself. You can't perform freely when you are somebody else. Like if you are using a basket mouth joke, you can't perform where there is basket mouth. So automatically you become blank. But when you are yourself, even if it's not that funny, but it can appeal to the audience, or you're like, that was nice, do it. Then what you have to do is to keep enhancing it. Look for basket mouth punchline. Look at how did he come to this punchline. Then create it with your own joke. Give it a different touch. It becomes yours. That's your own. But you will enjoy yourself more when you are original. There are some events I would go to there. I would feel free because I know even if there are 200 comedians, what I'm going to say there belongs to me. And what I should be scared of is if they would not take my content. I'm not scared of what originality is it. Yeah.
So how difficult is it for you to get content? Do you get it just like you said? I know you get some online from the things that you actually see online. Do you actually tap into your personal experiences as well, or the experiences of others?
My environment helps me a lot. Like I've refused to relocate. I live in the Maraba area. I have refused to relocate because the moment I leave Maraba, I think I will lose creativity. Working in Maraba alone is funny. Everybody is just there. From the market women to the street boys to everybody is just doing their thing. So if you are in their midst, they are giving you content. Some people will just say some random stuff and it's random to them, but to me on stage, that's going to be a bomb. So I'll just pick it up. So my environment helps me, social media helps me, Twitter, gather content together. And somebody's normal comment is my original content. That's what I do.
Okay, now just before we wrap up, what's the funniest joke that you've ever had? And also, I want you to make us laugh. You know, you're here. This is an opportunity for you to, you know, show us what you're made of.
Not the funniest joke. I can't really pick one of my funniest jokes, but it's one intro I did, and it was in Transcorp. I was performing, and everywhere was calm, and I came up stage. I was like, "Good evening, everyone." They were like, "Good evening. My name is Aminu. I'm from the best state in this country. I'm talking about the states with the highest skyscraper designs. I'm talking about the states with the best road designs, the best structural designs in this country." And I kept noticing. Everybody was like, okay. And I was like, Kogi State. And they were like, Kogi State, skyscraper designs. I said, yeah, designs. We've not built it.
The designs are actually there.
Oh my
We've
goodness.
not built it there. So I just played around that. And I like talking about my people so much, Kogi State. You know, I remember that experience when I was on bike in Kogi State and the speed was too much. I was like, calm down. You're carrying somebody. So something came to my head while I was on the bike, and I tried it on stage and it worked. I was like, okay. I was on bike and the bike was speeding so much. And you know when you're on bike, the air is coming to your eye, you can't see, you have to close your eyes. I was like, I closed my eye and I asked the bike guy, this speed too much. I know they even see, say even himself, you know they see, just they say you don't understand the and it actually worked.
Okay. All right, at least, you know, he succeeded in making us laugh.
Yes, actually.
All right, do you have more questions? Okay, I think with that, you know, it was fun hanging out with you on Daybreak Extra. Aminu, the comedian. Thank you so much. And, you know, I'm sure you have projects coming up, right?
Many.
Yes, so many. Just tell us a few about them before we wrap up.
Okay, every December I do my jokes and stitches with Aminu, the comedian. Just a stand-up comedy show. You come, you laugh. My tickets are just flat rates. You come, you sit, you laugh, you go back. That's one of my projects. And I'm working on my online space. I'm trying to make sure my YouTube peaks. I'm working on my Facebook and my YouTube. I want to make sure they work perfectly.
I think consistency would actually do that.
Yeah.
You know,
I
just
noticed
be
within this
consistent.
January, I've dropped 6 different contents, which I've not done in a while. I don't drop 6 videos in a month. But I tried it this month and I noticed my page moved up. I'm like, well, okay, this works, let's keep doing it.
All right.
So the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank
for
you so
having
much
me.
for coming, you know, on the show as well. And I think with that, it's time for us to say our goodbyes. It was fun. Today was fun. I wish it didn't have to end, but what can we say?
Yeah.
You know, man must rest. Did I make you laugh? Oh, yes, I did. I could be a comedian, you know. All right, I'm Dashan Husseina Usman. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend and see you next week, same time on Daybreak Extra on Trust TV.
Well, it's been great having you on Daybreak Extra this lovely Saturday morning. Let's do it all again next week. My name is Ibrahim Yusuf. Have a wonderful weekend.